Hello everyone from Rizana Fitness Style, and welcome back to our new session of Pilates classes. Today we will work on pelvic mobility, the pelvic floor, and the deeper core muscles. We begin our lesson by stabilizing the supine position for the back, then we extend the spine on the floor. We can use a cushion in this first part since we will be lying down a little. Okay, relaxed posture, not forced, lips slightly parted, hands on the belly. Let's keep the knees slightly apart to allow the pelvis to move well. Deep breathing, inhaling to inflate the belly slightly. Exhaling, we lower the belly. Inhaling, we inflate the belly. Exhaling, we lower the belly. Let's feel with our hands the volume that is created during the inhalation phase. And then we slowly exhale, using, if necessary, the pressure of our hands. Not too hard. 3 more times. I take a breath, inflating my belly. Out with the air, I deflate my belly. Again, inhaling, I inflate my belly. Inhaling deeply. I'm going to deflate it again. I inhale. Exhale. I now place one hand on the ceiling approximately at the height of the sternum and leave the other hand on my belly. Ground yourself to the floor, shoulders relaxed. Inhale through the nose, expanding the belly again, and then expand the chest. Exhale through the mouth, lowering the chest, and then deflate the belly. It is not a simple movement. I am going to create volumes in the front of my torso, and then eliminate them through the exhalation phase. As a result, I need to feel a movement in my spine. So, this is the first massage that I am going to create. Along my vertebrae, feeling the sensation 3 more times, gently and slowly. I take a breath, inflate my belly, and then push my chest up. As I exhale, I lower my chest. If needed, I use the pressure of my hands. Otherwise, I do not. And again, I take a breath, inflate my abdomen, then my chest, exhaling, I lower my chest, deflating my belly, and once more. Please remember, the breathing should be slow, not strong, because otherwise we lower the pressure. Okay, now I place both hands practically on the ribs, just below the chest, with my elbows always on the ground, shoulders relaxed. I breathe in through my nose and lift my chest up. As you can see, there is an arch forming along my spine in the lumbar area. Exhaling, lowering the chest, I practically eliminate the arch by actively pushing the navel inward during the final phase of my exhalation. Okay. So I continue to massage my spine by making a much wider movement. Okay. I take a breath, chest up, a lumbar arch forms. I exhale. I lower my chest down. I feel my ribs drop. Then I reach the extension and the engagement of the lumbar area. 4 more times. I inhale. Exhaling slowly. We always keep the chin slightly retracted. I inhale, especially at this stage, and definitely at least 2 more times. I take a breath. The chest lowers, the ribs lower, the navel pulls in, stretching the lumbar area. Last one. Now I place my hands on the little ridges because I always need reference points. Please remember, all this breathing we are doing must be slow, but it is forced because, I repeat, we are going to lower the pressure. So when we breathe in through the nose slowly, we then exhale deeply, waiting for it to be finished. So the exhalation will be much longer than the inhalation phase. This is very important. Okay, now with the hands positioned on the iliac crests, let's form a lumbar arch again, like this. But as you can see, I am not lifting the torso. I am just moving the pelvis as much as I can in this position. So I form the lumbar arch while taking a breath. Exhaling through the mouth, I push the navel inward, thus engaging the retroversion of the pelvis. I lift my glutes slightly off the ground, which is fine, but I do not create a complete suspension. I return to a neutral position, so it is a first direct movement of my articulated pelvis. I take a breath, then I perform an anteversion. While exhaling, I develop the retroversion. I try to move the pelvis back and forth. Inhaling, I rotate it backward. Exhaling, I compensate. So I skip the lumbar vertebrae. The surrounding muscles that contract are a consequence. Let's stay focused on the joint movement. We insist on very continuous repetitions, respecting the rhythm of breathing. I take a breath, turning outward, breathing as I turn forward. Slow movements, never abrupt. Each person then performs a movement individually and personally, also based on what they are able to feel. We remember that the spine is a whole, so it is also difficult to separate the lower part from the upper part, or vice versa. Okay, now continuing to keep the hands above the little ridges, I need to follow a lateral movement, flexing the pelvis to one side and then the other. But before performing these little bends, I need to keep the navel pulled in, so I will have a passive abdominal contraction at the base that I must maintain. And then, while exhaling, I bend sideways. Basically, I need to lift, okay, the iliac crest upwards, and then, while massaging the lumbar region, I lift the other one in the direction, let's say, of the shoulder, okay? So, from side to side, exhaling, I perform this lateral movement, keeping the navel pulled in. So, I massage, I feel the pressure on the last lumbar vertebra, and I go on to massage the entire fascia. Exhaling while bending, here I feel my abdominals much more. You should feel your abdominals a bit more. Always work in a passive manner. And with my hands, I can feel the push upwards before one iliac crest and then the other. It's a very pleasant movement for our back. For the lumbar region, 4 more times, I take a breath out, the air 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now we need to place our hands on the ground. The movement is a twist of the pelvis from one side to the other, so I will rotate towards you, like this, lifting a lumbar region, the right lumbar region. Okay? I lean. Now I will rotate to the other side. The shoulders remain on the ground, as do the shoulder blades. The gluteus obviously contracts, going into suspension to allow the pelvis to rotate. And when I go through the central part, I always pull the navel inward and feel the entire lumbar region being massaged from side to side. This exercise is even more enjoyable than the previous one, okay? When we go to the side, when we reach the side, we do not abandon the abdominal muscles. We always maintain the retroversion of the pelvis, because I still need to control my back during the exercise. Breathe out through 1, the legs move a bit, it's normal. I take air out through 2, Shoulders down, exhaling through 3. And I can also slightly increase the pace, not too much, but mainly to give continuity to what I perceive. In short, again. Last 4 steps. Take it slow and always try to understand where we can reach. Just 2 more steps. Okay, stop. Now we can return with our hands resting on the pelvis, the legs still a bit apart, and we will perform the joint movement. So, going into suspension with the pelvis, I rotate forward. Push the navel in and continue to rise, obviously contracting the glutes. Let's say I lift my pelvis to about the height of my shoulder blades, more or less. When I arrived here, my navel is in, the lumbar region is protected. I take a breath, exhale, and then I feel all the vertebrae resting down to the last, lumbar. Okay, when I reach the starting position, I will bend both knees. I place my toes and heels down. Then I keep the lower part of my abdomen active. I take a breath, pushing the navel in as I exhale. Then I rotate the pelvis forward, looking at it in suspension. I reach the position. I inhale again here, and as I exhale, I lower myself. I place the vertebrae until I rest the muscle mass of the glutes, and then I take a breath out, a flexion. Okay, the other 5 times. I inhale, exhale, rotate the pelvis, and then I go up. I inhale and exhale, returning to the ground. I take a breath. In, exhale, bend, 4 more. Three more. I go up, contracting my glutes, but I don't focus so much on that part, rather on keeping the pelvis forward. 2 more times. Last. Okay, now pull your knees to your chest, arms out. Let's mobilize a little more with some twists around the entire circumference of the pelvis. The shoulders remain on the ground. When I pass through the center, I always exhale and try to maintain control over the lower abdomen, thus avoiding sliding forward. Up to where I can reach, up to where I can control, I perform a very continuous movement from side to side, exhaling air. I work the lower abdomen more intensely. The more I focus on it, the more the lumbar region benefits. 4 more steps. Okay. Stop. Now I slowly turn onto my side. Okay? And I change the work plan. I reach the quadruped position. So, in the quadruped position, I have the ability to move my pelvis much more freely because I have no limits, no obstacles. First of all, we position the hands under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. We feel the spine extended, naturally. Okay. And now we are going to engage it a little bit all over. So I take a breath in the starting position, The cervical region is also aligned. Exhaling, I tuck my chin, rotate the pelvis forward, then the movement I have felt so far, pushing the shoulders and returning to a neutral position. Okay, so I move my shoulder blades away by pushing with my shoulders. I contract my abdomen, then I lengthen the lumbar region, pressing my chin to also stretch the neck and cervical region. I take a breath, exhale. So I look at my belly and then come back. Let's take a moment to add the position so we can exhale slowly. I inhale and exhale twice. We feel the hip joint movement forward well, without having to contract the glutes too much, just the abdomen. I inhale and exhale 3. Shoulders down when we come back. I inhale and exhale 4. I inhale and exhale 5. Okay, let's stop for a moment. I already know what you're thinking. The wrists. I can't do it with the wrists. All right, then let's skip the fists. Or we can roll up the mat, as I have mentioned before, to create a small step, which definitely reduces the load. In any case, you should always continue to maintain the push of the shoulders even when returning to a neutral position. So now what happens? I am going to perform the exact opposite movement, starting from a neutral position. I inhale, exhale, lift my chin, then look forward, and rotate my pelvis into anterior tilt. Then I control the lumbar muscles. I have my abdomen engaged. I can really feel it stretching, okay? From the inside, it is engaged, but on the outside, it is doing its own stretching. Okay, I'm back. Alignment of everything, from the lumbar region to the cervical region. 5 times. I inhale, exhale, rotate, breathing out. Then I always maintain the push in my shoulders because I need to keep them low. And I return. I inhale and exhale twice. Feel free to point your feet back to allow the pelvis to rotate better for alignment. I inhale and exhale 3 times. Then I release the air, greatly emphasizing the movement of the pelvis as much as I can. 2 more times. I inhale and exhale for 4. And then I return, exhaling for 5. And back. Okay, now I do both movements. So I'll start with the last one, because with the second one I can definitely compensate. So I inhale, exhaling up. I take a breath during the transition, neutral, exhaling up, and back. Okay, so let's try to keep the arms straight. I don't know if you can see it, but when I perform the movement, when I start to move, I rotate my elbows inward to lock the shoulder more. Okay. And feel a greater push. You can feel it throughout your back, right? So let's start the 5 repetitions. I take a breath in and breathe out. And 1. I inhale. I exhale. And I return, very fluid movement. I inhale and exhale 2. I inhale and exhale. I inhale and exhale 3. I inhale and exhale 4. I take a breath. Then I exhale. Last, I inhale and exhale 5. I take a breath. Exhale up. And I'm back. Okay, in this exercise, you will definitely have felt much more tension in the upper part of your back. This means that the lower part still needs to move, okay? Let's say that the feeling is like not having done much for this area. So, let's resume working, especially on this part, and try, at least, not to strain the upper back, while encouraging the retroversion of the pelvis. When I arrive, I reach this position, shift the weight back, and return to a neutral position. Okay, I take a breath, stretching, I engage the pelvis, then the shoulders, keeping the lower back steady. I go back. However, when I reach this position, I lose it a bit, meaning I lose the movement I have developed, and that is normal because I am stretching. I return to a neutral position. Okay, 5 times. I inhale and exhale. Here it's strong. Here, by moving it, I lose and gain mobility. I inhale and exhale the air. Let's try to feel the pelvic musculature a little bit more and gently as we begin to stimulate it a little bit more. I take breath, exhale 3. I inhale and exhale 4. I inhale. Okay, stop. Let's place our knees properly under our hips. Now let's perform a much softer movement, developing a true wave. This is also an exercise for those with abdominal diastasis. Okay? So, neutral position. Exactly, we are going to revisit the exercises we just did, some steps. So this, I will go behind. In moving forward, I develop the anterior pelvic tilt by lifting my head. When I reach the starting position, I again take the other position that brings me back. And by doing so, I can really feel the movement of my back as well. Start doing it continuously as well. Breathe very regularly. Inhale here. Exhale as you come forward. I inhale deeply during the transition. So we practically retract all of the phases we felt earlier. And it should be a very, very pleasant movement. As for the arms, we can keep them a little relaxed. Let's resume the push where we feel we need to. Perceive it more. And again, I move forward. When I am here, the pelvis rotates first, then we feel the scapula. It is better to ensure that we properly engage the abdominals. Well, 2 more times. Last. Okay, stop. It's a high, wide movement, pleasant. Okay, now we can return to a supine position with the back, always placing the cushion if we want. And we focus more on the deep musculature, the internal musculature, which is the pelvic musculature. So, I rest my head, relax my shoulders, lower them. My hands are resting and my knees are together, okay? Right from the start, I engage the retroversion as much as I can because with my legs closed, the pelvis is somewhat limited. I can still feel the inner thigh muscle and I begin to perceive the deeper muscles, those of the pelvic musculature. So, what we can tighten, let's tighten. Of course, also the glutes. Open the knees, positioning the feet in contact with each other. Let's support the knees a little because we must not lose the adherence of the lumbar region. Okay? If I go down too far, this happens, okay? Unless I check the movement properly, it's better not to go that low right now. So I limit myself. From this position, I struggle a lot to close my knees and also change the position of my feet. When I inhale, raise my lower body, exhale, first step. My feet are in contact. I feel my glutes. I feel the muscle tensing inside my thigh. I inhale and exhale and with great effort I try to close my knees. The knees come into contact, the muscles, the pelvic musculature very active. 5 times I inhale and exhale. 1. I inhale, I exhale, I return. We hold tight while relaxing the shoulders, but I inhale and exhale. 2. I inhale and exhale, close. And again, take air out. The pressure of the feet keeps us working on the legs, which you should start to feel. And again, I inhale and exhale. I take the air out and the air around. Lastly, I inhale and exhale 5 times. If I put my hand here, it obviously doesn't pass. I inhale and exhale, then close. Okay, knee flexion. Let's keep our arms at our sides. We will open the knees and then close them. Let's try to keep the big toes in contact with each other. So here too, the opening is limited. Let's take advantage of a beam, the one we need, to engage all the deeper muscles. At the moment, I close, always struggling. I feel my pelvic muscles a lot. Okay, I inhale, open, and exhale, close. The abdominal muscles are obviously working because the lower back always stays on the ground, and I exhale. Once again, I take a breath in and exhale as I close. 2 more times. Inhaling, I open. Exhaling, I close. Last, I take a breath and exhale slowly. Hands resting on the knees, I separate them. Legs much more relaxed. We start to move our feet. Flexion. Extension of the foot arch. But let's move them together as well, so up and down. Rotation. A little to one side and a little to the other. And again. Okay, let's also loosen them up. Small circles. Keeping the elbows high like this, the shoulders remain slightly more stable. Okay, let's compensate by lifting the pelvis for a moment. Okay, let's create some stability. So let's observe the abdominal area, keeping the pelvis nice and centered, and then I'll also stretch the legs for a moment. I let go softly. In this last part, they have surely worked as well, and I also lift my arms. So I remain in a very neutral position, feeling my lumbar arch. A nice breath, let's lower the arms. And then we move to the side again, always slowly transitioning because the head might turn. Okay, usual position, cross your legs, or your favorite one. Let's move our neck a little bit, the cervical area, with some forward bends. We can all sit on a chair if you want. Slowly I rise, take a breath, let it out, and bend. The back obviously remains straight. Once again, chin tuck. Okay, let's lift one arm, lift the other, raise the shoulders, one at a time. And then lower them down and stop. Okay, thank you. We have finished our lesson. As always, I look forward to seeing you at the next Pilates lesson. Goodbye from Tiziana, Fitness Time.